Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Mortis FM, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Grayson, one of your hosts.
I'm Cole, the other host. Grayson, what are we doing today, man?
You know, it's a very simple and quaint little topic today, but one that I think is that you brought up that I really like the idea of. We talk about Star Wars a lot in our friendship. We literally,
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, we created a podcast because of it. Literally 30 minutes before we even started recording, we were just going on a full rant about all these other things, and I'm like,
yeah,
we should have recorded it, but
yeah, sort of a pre-show.
But sometimes we'll text each other, right? And you'll ask me a question, I'll ask you a question, and some of those discussions are really, really good. So I think that's kind of the genesis of this idea. And so today we're just going to ask each other Star Wars questions that we have devised. And honestly, this might be an ongoing thing of when we think of more questions, like, hey, I've got enough questions. You want to just do an episode on it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that'd be a great idea. Maybe we could. I mean, like, the one day we are going to run out of chat pack questions, so maybe we could like have some of our own on the back burner just to ask each other.
We create our own chat pack.
That would be so cool, but at the same time, the majesty of the chat pack is that we don't know what's coming. You know,
it's true.
We've never.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Hey guys, why don't you make us a chat pack question? What question do you want us to answer? Please submit to Star Wars Chat Mortis FM Pack Questions.org. It's pending.
Don't do that.
Yes, it doesn't exist, but it's pending.
Maybe one day. But hey, in other news, we've reached over 125 subscribers on YouTube. Thanks to Tony and Will. I went on their stream this past week, and they shot us up. We were at 89 subscribers, and we ended that stream with 125. So hey, thank you guys so much. This is a huge milestone. Quit doing that, man.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for helping us reach that milestone. We'll make it to up next 1 million.
Yeah, there's no milestones in between there. Just 125 to 1 million.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, how about this? 100,000, right? That's step down.
Okay. But yeah, seriously, guys, thank you so much. If you are here for the first time, we hope you enjoy it. We hope you enjoyed some of our other content, and we hope you stick around.
Yeah.
That being said,
let us know how you found us.
Oh yes, please do. I'm sure a lot of you have kind of influxed in from that live stream, we team up a lot with Diamond Figs and Tony and Beyond the Dune Sea. Keep an eye out for the final episode of Tales from the Archives in February. It should be February 9th. But hey, before we get into these questions, there is one. Don't say hey, by the way. I knew
I was about to, but I was like, he told me to stop.
I'm gonna stop doing it now. But there's been a lot of I don't want to say discourse, because it's not even discourse. There's clearly a right answer here. There's been a lot of strife in the Star Wars community lately, and I guess, hey, when isn't there? But there's been this ideal, all right, that people, some maybe less than knowledgeable people have been pushing that, hey, Star Wars is... God,
hey. I didn't do it for the last time. I know. But like you can see my face where I just get into a smile. All right. Anyway,
yeah, that Star Wars is only for men. It's not for women. Women don't even watch Star Wars. That's stupid. If you are a woman who views our content, we appreciate you. If you have never seen this before and I don't know, you're hearing this somehow, Star Wars is for everybody, and Star Wars is forever. So we appreciate you. You are welcome to this community. And hey, if you, oh God, I'm gonna stop.
Hey.
I'm gonna stop doing that. I promise.
Star Wars is not meant to be gate kept.
Agreed.
Star Wars is for everybody.
Yes.
Like, never feel like you do not belong because you 100% do. Mm-hmm. It's not. It shouldn't even be up for debate. So if you want to, if you want some bigotry, you can go somewhere else. There are other places that will provide that, but at Mortis FM, we will not provide that. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to ask questions, be a part of the community. Like, Star Wars is for everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Because I'll just keep saying hey over and over again. Clearly.
Hey.
Well, we have to start off this episode with something we forgot last episode. And you reminded me quickly after because my mind blanked. So we're going to start this episode with a chat pack question. And we'll also end it with one. We're going to double up this week.
Correct. We are going to begin this episode of questions with another question.
Hey. There might...
Hey.
I'm quitting Mortis FM, guys.
This is gonna be
I'm never saying hey again in my life, by the way. All right. Well, I already picked a question. Question number 37. Choose an animal on our planet to model a Star Wars species after. Which animal did you pick, and what would the species look like? Wow. Okay.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to assume they mean like take an animal and not like a creature, but basically create like an alien race out of this. Because, you know, there's a lot of species in Star Wars that are like the Quarren. They've got squids, like squid faces, or you know, Mon Calamari are very fish people, you know.
Yeah.
Like that.
Does it say like create like a creature or like a species?
It says a Star Wars species after. So I guess you could go creature if you wanted to, but I think I'm going to try to model more of like an actual humanoid type. I guess you could also go with like, it doesn't have to be humanoid. It could be something like Jabba the Hutt. You know, he's not a humanoid species.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically just a slug though.
You know? Literally, yeah, it's just a slug.
Yeah. Dang, that's a really good question. I mean, my gut punch reaction was like moth people, just because that sounds like really fun. Because like
that's cool.
Yeah, because there's like Forlom and Zuckuss, like they've got the bug fly heads, right? But what if there was like a moth version where like they're a bit more furry? Well, actually, technically, it's like similar to what's the name of that species? It's like the four-eyed, fuzzy-headed dudes with like the cylindrical like mouths.
The one that you first see, I think they're called I want to say it starts with a Q. They're in that Clone Wars episode, and they first appeared in the cantina. The quals, the talls maybe. They're the Pantoran people had to deal with like a struggle with them in the Clone Wars.
Talz.
Talz?
Yeah.
I knew it.
There you go. Yeah, because I remember one of them was one of the Jedi that was helped that helped like that bodyguarded Palpatine in Gendy's Star Wars series.
Every single one of those Jedi in that or I guess series, like I went through the Ithorian Jedi when he uses his like his vocal cords to like shred the walls because Grievous is like crawling on them. Dude, I had an obsession with that guy as a kid, and I don't know why, because I just thought he was so cool.
Yeah, so people that are listening and / watching may not know this, but there's a really cool Star Wars RPG game that like I've been meaning to DM for a long time. It's Star Wars FFG or Edge of the Empire, Force and Destiny, Age of Rebellion, stuff like that. If you choose your species to be Ithorian, you can have that ability.
Dude.
It's like based on one of your it's like the game's strength stat. It's called Brawn, but depending on that, you can release like this sonic wave. It's like your race trait.
That's
it's really cool.
It's kind of like a breath weapon for Dragonborn, but instead it's just like that's so sick.
Yeah, basically that. So I was, like maybe like moth people would be cool.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that's different enough where like, if say you gave them like, light wings and they had maybe like, say they had like red eyes and like fuzzier bodies and stuff, but they were still more like, maybe they had like legs and then they had like 4 or 6 arms,
Yeah, I also, I'm literally just thinking off the top of my head. It would be really cool if there was like a creature, like a monstrous creature on like Felucia that's based off of like a Venus flytrap or something, like this massive thing. Maybe there already is.
I was about to say, in the Force Unleashed game, is there something similar to that? All I know is that there's like those kind of like acidic bubbles on the ground. I guess a Sarlacc pit is kind of similar to that, but it's not as it's not it's more fauna than flora. yeah. But then again, there was a Sarlacc Saran Felucia, so.
Actually, it looks like there are Venus flytraps in Star Wars anyway. There's some in Fallen Order.
This is a tough question because there is some. Is it on Kashyyyk?
Yeah, it's in the Kashyykian Shadowlands.
Oh, dude, that was such a good part, man.
Yeah. That's cool.
This is a really tough question because I feel like there's so many species already in Star Wars, both canon and legends.
Yeah.
Man,
what is I'm blanking on what this fish's name is.
Are you talking like an anglerfish?
Yes, exactly.
That's so funny because I was thinking of the exact same thing.
Look at this guy.
I was thinking like the really like big jutting jaw and like the little like light dangly thing.
Yeah. What if there was like a deep space massive anglerfish? Like that like that thing from Solo. What was that called? The Maw or whatever?
Yeah, dude. That thing is crazy.
I need more stories like that where they come across this Lovecraftian horror creature in space.
Like cosmic horror stuff. They don't they do it sparingly, like sparingly, whatever.
Either or. Oh, this. How about this? Whales, but in space. They can jump into hyperspace.
Dude, I have some news for you.
No way.
This is like, I just want to think of something like so out of the box, but I'm struggling to like think of animals. That's too basic. Maybe like a kangaroo.
Kangaroo person?
Like I was about to say, like if they had like a pouch that had their little babies in it and everything, but it's like imagine like a kangaroo like smuggler just like just whopping people in the face,
Well, I think it's like from what I recall, the card said like take the idea of an animal and turn it into a creature. So like some kind of Star Wars species that has a pouch that you can store smuggling stuff or whatever.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be nuts. Like what if he like stores guns or like drugs or something in there? It's like a kangaroo spice runner. Wow.
Oh my gosh, that'd be nuts. Scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, what creatures? Like I wouldn't want to make like a dog person because that's basic. Like there's already like there's kind of cat people because Juhani from KOTOR is kind of like a cat person.
Yeah.
There's tons of lizard people, like a lot of like aquatic species with your Naudilans, your Mon Calamari, your Quarren.
It's like maybe a spider person.
There is that Admiral Trench.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, I totally forgot about that guy.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, that's taken. See,
the thing is like most of this has already been done, so it's kind of hard to.
You got to think really out of the box to do it.
Yeah. Huh. Has anyone? No, they have done that, haven't they? It's the Manan guys.
Oh, the Selkath?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm kind of at a loss for something super original. Maybe I'm just not creative enough.
Maybe it's just like, just go like, oh, dude, humans, but in space.
No way, dude.
No way, bro.
Yeah, I'll have to think on this. Maybe either it'll be in this episode or maybe a later episode. I'll be like, I made one up. I got one, but it's on the fly. A fly? I'm kidding. That basically already exists. I mean, fly people would be similar to like a moth person's, and would also be similar to Zuckuss. Like Zuckuss is basically just a fly dude. So I don't know, man. They've outsmarted me today.
I was thinking, well, not really.
You know what? Here's my answer. I just got it. If we're going like you said like a moth person, that made me think of Mothman. Another cryptid type thing that I would think would be really cool as an alien creature that I think is simple enough, like a humanoid version of a chupacabra.
Ooh.
And they would be kind of gnarly looking, kind of mean looking, a very cantina type.
Well, wait, that kind of sounds like
Oh no.
They kind of sounds like Zygerians a little bit.
No, I think Zygerians are more like. When I think chupacabra, I'm thinking like this person has like a snout. Like Zygerians are more like wolf people.
Yeah.
So
like you're talking about like actual like chompers.
Yeah, I'm talking like their head is like literally, yeah, like they've got some nasty teeth and everything. Like they're pretty ferocious looking.
Wasn't there also a kind of thing like that in the cantina? It's like big dude with a maw. He kind of looks like a crocodile / dog dude.
Are you talking about the guy that does the pod race?
Maybe?
That guy? There's one that in the pod race that has like a really long.
Oh, yeah. That's
kind of alligator
about,
looking. Yeah, I'm thinking kind of maybe more like sharper teeth. Here's the thing with Star Wars, right? Is like when they make like aquatic species, it's like, dude, how many can they? But like you said this last week, or we said this last week, but like Star Wars is so vast, and it's been around for nearly 50 years at this point. There are so many aliens, both in canon and in expanded universe, and it's hard. Like there's so many ones that are similar. Like eventually, there's going to be some crossover, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot. Star Wars is very vast.
Yeah. Because even you think about like how much the sequels added. Like the sequels basically only had new aliens in it. Like it barely
I thought that was cool too. I really liked that because it made the galaxy just feel so much bigger, you know?
Yeah. I would have liked, this is a random thing, I would have liked in The Force Awakens at least like maybe a handful. Because to me, in my mind, I'm like, well, like the Gran and the Rhodians are pretty kind of everywhere. Like those are like really and so we got Akbar and Nine Nub, like they were returning characters. I would have liked to just seen like a Rhodian or something in there, but like they added and throughout the movies they go on, like they add, even though like The Last Jedi, I think they start sprinkling things in there. But that's why I always really liked Rogue One and Solo, because they had a mixture of those new aliens or like two tubes, for example. But then they also had like, they had legacy. It was a really good blend of legacy and new. But yeah, they from that movie alone, like both the sequel trilogy, they added so many different types of species.
I really liked it when Rogue One added in the Tognath. Like I love their species, man. It's a two tubes' species.
But aren't they like some of the only ones left of that species, from what I understand?
I don't know. If that's true, that sucks. But
I remember them being they're like some of the last people left, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. I could go full Tolkien and just be like, can I get a tree person?
That'd be dope.
I don't think that's been done before. Not like
that'd be really cool if they were like a native to Kashyyyk or something. Like they lived alongside the Wookiees.
That would kind of, as a Wookiee, if I was a Wookiee, that'd kind of scare me to be like, oh yeah, they've been living with us the whole time. We don't even know.
It's like the Bigfoot of Kashyyyk. Because you know how Chewie's always been given the Bigfoot memes, but then
they have their own Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It's just a guy named Randall.
Okay, apparently the Tognath are fine.
Oh,
there are 2 of them in Rogue One, but
yeah,
it's not like they're not the only 2. They're native to the planet Yar Togna.
Interesting.
Very cool.
That is pretty dope.
It's in the Outer Rim.
Well, you've got a moth person, I've got a chupacabra person. Let's see what other for you all out there, what other cryptids can you turn into Star Wars aliens?
Give us Star Wars Bigfoot.
Chewbacca. All right. I'm going to let you ask the first question.
Okay. All right.
And I also think it's good to note that we'll probably end up, like, once you ask it, I'm sure I might ask you the question back. Like, it's more of a dialogue rather than, like, an interview, you know?
Oh, yeah. I was walking into this with the idea that you are supposed to answer your own question as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to start off a little easy. Grayson, tell me about your favorite Star Wars era, but why it is your favorite.
That's tough because I love a lot of different Star Wars eras.
Let's just say, like, because I know, like, I'm asking this because, like, I know that you have trouble picking a favorite, and I do too. But, like, which one comes to your head immediately? Like, just first off.
Honestly, it probably, like, the top of my head, I mean, I would say kind of fresh off the heels of, like, in between 3 and 4, which is kind of which has now become a very saturated time period. But, like, at the time of The Force Unleashed, right, that game was so unique and cool because there wasn't a whole lot of games that took place between, or there wasn't a whole lot of content in general that took place between 3 and 4 that also had major characters like Leia and Vader and Palpatine, and you know they're connected in very like loose ways, but yeah, I remember thinking like, oh, that's really cool because it has a lot of prequel elements, but it also has a lot of original trilogy elements. You see the galaxy slowly becoming this very like hyper polished and clean world to like, oh, the Empire is doing a number on the galaxy now, and you know everything isn't as good as it seems. You know, from the Clone Wars of the Jedi being gone to the rise of the Empire to the Rebels to a lot of the smuggling and outlaws that are in the galaxy now. It gives that really good like through line between each trilogy. But honestly, I also really like. This wasn't the first to come to mind, but I really like anything between, or like before, like within like 200 years before the Phantom Menace. I really am enjoying that era because it's so. Even I would say up to like 500 years before, because you get to a point where it's like, okay, that's Knights of the Old Republic, and that's a really cool era. But it feels very disconnected from the main movies, and I like the idea of like, okay, there's this giant gap in time between, you know, KOTOR, which I still in my head, I'm like, it basically affects nothing. I still count KOTOR and the Old Republic as canon in a way. But I mean, we're reading Plagueis obviously, and that's like basically, I mean, that takes place up to, it's like 35 years before the Phantom Menace. But now with the High Republic era, I mean, the Jedi in their prime, you know, we're seeing the Republic be an efficient force for good. This was like the golden days, right? That is the golden era. So
yeah, it's technically like, I mean, at least for me, because I haven't been able to narrow it down in my head with how this works. But like before the Phantom Menace, but it feels like before the Phantom Menace, but after the High Republic, you know what I mean? Like it feels like this very small in-between area where like things seem pretty okay, but there's a growing Phantom Menace.
Yes, the looming
that's
darkness.
Yeah, so it's like that rise before the fall, like teetering right over the edge of a cliff, right?
Yeah.
I also want to
say I've always loved post Return of the Jedi, like that 10 years after Return of the Jedi. I've always been a big fan of. And you're noticing a trend that it's like, oh, it's none of the actual like trilogies themselves. It's all in between the trilogies. And I think that's just so cool because there's so many stories you can tell that aren't like, hey, these are main stories, you know? But I mean, there's a reason why I love so much content that's either before the Phantom Menace or between Revenge of the Sith or after Return of the Jedi, because it's like, oh, this is so ripe for exploration and storytelling.
It feels like relatively untrampled ground, untrodden ground. I totally get that.
Yeah, I think also a really good, and this is probably my last one, and then I'll probably choose a definitive one. But that 10 years between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, or 9 years, however. I'm like, that's pretty unexplored too. I mean, that's, you know, there's the clones aren't around yet, but the Sith have returned, and there's that kind of, you know, when are they could strike at any moment sort of thing, and Anakin is still training. It's a pretty cool era as well. So,
and Obi-Wan having to, you know, take on this apprentice after losing his master, you know,
immediately. Yeah.
It's very, it's a very interesting, transitory period. I think it's all about the transitory periods.
Yes. You know, I think I might surprise you here, but I want to say just right now, my favorite era, I believe, is post Return of the Jedi.
All right. Very cool.
Yeah, I think, and that applies for both Legends and canon. I'm thinking like your Jedi Academy stuff, to Mandalorian, to Ahsoka, to Heir to the Empire, like that whole time period in general in both expanded universe and the current canon is just a really cool time period, because it's like there's not a whole lot of Jedi around, but like it's not taboo to be a Jedi anymore. Like
it kind of feels like a sandbox era, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like there's not the big oppressive empire anymore, and now like the Jedi are kind of starting to come back, and there's more life in the galaxy, but at the same time, the New Republic still hasn't gotten a hold of everything yet, so it's kind of like pseudo lawlessness that's still kind of happening.
There's still remnants of the Empire still out there, and
there's
big
the shadow of the
too.
Empire, and that's a good choice. I like that. For me, it's hard. I get stuck between choosing a lot of things, so I'm just gonna go into a couple like you did, and then I'll decide. The first thing I'm gonna say is, you know, in between episodes 3 and 4, you know that I love this era. It's colloquially known as the Dark Times.
Yes.
And that's just my favorite. So like I love it so much. Because I mean, you said it perfectly when you brought it up. It is this transitory period where things are a lot darker. The Empire is I mean, it's already been formed and it's growing, and now there's like seeds of rebellion that don't know how to work together yet. And I love watching that happen. I love watching rebellion, the rebellion turn into what I say every single time, from a whisper to a tangible menace, you know? And I just think it is, because I love stories, especially in Star Wars, that just inspire hope. And so that's why I love Rogue One and Andor so much, is because you get to see the spark that lights the fire that burns the Empire down.
Yes.
So I love watching that happen. And also, the Force Unleashed, you love to see Starkiller go. It's in this period where the Jedi are a hunted and outlawed clan, right? And so seeing them in this almost like it almost feels like kind of I guess it makes sense given the political relations that George put in there, but it almost kind of feels like World War II charged, you know, where like people are being hunted down for what they are, right?
Yes.
And so it kind of feels tailored to that, and so you have to find this hope within yourself and within others. So very, very dark period, but also very inspiring period.
Yeah.
I also really love the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars is just kind of classic for me, and I guess when I'm saying Clone Wars, inevitably I'm basically just saying prequel era. I love what the prequel era did for Star Wars. It made the series feel much more lively and lived in. You know, there are these governments. There's Coruscant, where the Republic is, but we've got the Separatists and the Banking Clan and the Techno Union and all that stuff. It's like it's this massive conglomeration of world building that makes the Star Wars galaxy not feel small but feel massive.
Yes.
And I love the Clone Wars because you watch how a democracy falls, because you see all of these different societies and species and organizations going head to head. I don't know. You'd love to see it. I think it's just, it really does feel like an actual galaxy-spanning war. Whereas in the Galactic Civil War, it feels like just an open, it's a civil war, but like it's an open rebellion that feels a lot more controlled, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, love the Clone Wars for that. And then also, I just have to say it for the sake of saying it, I love the Old Republic era. I do. I think for me, it fits that same thing that it does for you post Return of the Jedi, where it is just a Star Wars sandbox.
Yeah.
If I were to ever write a Star Wars story, it would be in the Old Republic era, because you have hundreds and thousands of years basically where you can just come up with stuff.
You
right?
just do whatever you want.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. That's why the Old Republic is so much fun, because you'll watch these cinematic trailers of hundreds of Jedi and Sith just going head to head, and then coming up with these crazy new robots and droids and all of these like inventive gadgets, and then watching, I don't know, it's like, it's so strange to me. It almost feels anachronistic, right? Because this is supposed to be an ancient time for the galaxy, but it is still leagues in the future for us.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even in the Old Republic, you're like, wow, this technology is crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it's still, I don't know, it's just still so good. So between those three, it's really hard to decide, but I think I'm just going to instinctively say the Dark Times, just because I just really love that era.
Yeah.
I love all three of those. I would honestly say that, those eras kind of change in order for me of how much I like them every now and then. But the Dark Times is just, it's very Star Wars to me, because Star Wars, from when I first saw it, was all about rebellion and hope. And so that's why I have such a strong tie to it. But yeah, that is the answer to my own question.
It's funny that you picked the one before the original, and I picked the one after. Like, literally, it's a sandwich.
yeah, literally, it is.
A Star Wars sandwich. That's the next movie. Dave Filoni's movie.
Sandwich name.
I'm sure there is.
Star Wars sandwich. I'm Googling it right now.
Back to that food thing. Why does this always happen?
Wikipedia. It's just sandwich. A sandwich was a food wrapped between two slices of bread. It was eaten by humans, chiss, kefars, and volpi. Some clone troopers ate sandwiches. During the High Republic, Yoda made a type of sandwich called a sweet puff jamwich with 2 crackers and sweet puff jam. All right, great.
I'm down, bro.
I'm glad that he made that.
Thank you, Yoda. Very cool.
It's literally just a picture of the sandwich on the Wikipedia.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a simple question for you. And when it comes back around to me, like, this is literally like a 2-second answer. But this is only because you know how I am. I'm just gonna ask it. Whose or what is your favorite lightsaber? And that also includes the color, like if you had to choose a color. So it's kind of a double-sided question, but basically hilt or hilt style and color.
Oh, man.
That's because I love lightsabers.
I lightsaber. It's really tough for me. So my favorite color is purple. However, I love it when lightsabers are yellow. I go nuts when lightsabers are yellow.
So nice.
I would say instinctively, my favorite lightsaber that has probably been created, and this is ironic given like what I think of these movies, but like I really love Rey's final lightsaber.
That's your favorite.
It's
so great.
I don't know if it is my all-time like favorite hilt design, but the thing is like it has its unique sound font that like
that
I
ignition.
love. Yeah, I love that sound font so much, but then the ignition as well, where it goes from blue to green or
Yeah.
vice versa.
It's instead of it being a button, literally like you like twist it with your thumb.
Yeah, I think that that's so cool. I also really like Ezra's green lightsaber. That's probably one of my favorite hilts. Some other named hilts. I really love Starkiller's first hilt.
Dude, the one with the exposed crystal chamber.
Yeah, it's very it's
like
very
a rugged Anakin.
Yeah, it's rugged, it's unrefined. It's yet to be complete, which is very similar to Starkiller himself. I think it is very reflective of his character at the time. It's like it's violent, but it's not complete. You know, it's unfinished. So I think that that's really good. Oh, I honestly could go on. Obi-Wan's
So many.
episode 3 hilt, I love to death. That is
Iconic.
yeah, that's iconic. I really like Qui-Gon's. Qui-Gon's cool. It feels like a katana. That one's cool. Luke's. Oh, I love Luke's Return of the Jedi lightsaber, man. That is like classic. That's one of the definitive ones for me. Yeah, I can honestly go on. Yeah, a good reference here is that whenever I play Blade and Sorcery, which is a sandbox like fighting VR game, I have a Star Wars mod where you can basically take a Star Wars hilt and take its crystal out and put one in. So what I do whenever I just, feel like being me, I guess, I get Ezra's second hilt and then I put Rey's lightsaber crystal in there. So it makes the sound of her lightsaber, but it looks like his. Yeah, so yeah.
So it's somewhere between Rey's and Ezra's that you really like, maybe like top dog.
Yeah, I just think that they're really great. I also really love white lightsabers. I love the Legends Imperial Knight lightsaber.
Dude, yeah.
That is a wicked saber. I love that thing.
It's so pristine.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just kind of a couple
Yeah.
stuff I've got off the top of it.
Yeah, I respect that. I'm a big fan of Ezra's green, and I guess now even Sabine's. I really like that. Just feels like it. Here's what I think I love about lightsabers is when they look like they were made out of actual parts. Like a lot of the prequel lightsabers, they look very like heavily machined, almost like they got a block of metal and they were like, let's just shape it to look like a lightsaber,
Yeah.
Whereas things like Obi-Wan's or Rey's or Ezra's, like they look like they got a bunch of parts and they put them together and they were like, that makes a lightsaber,
It looks like there's intention behind the craft.
Right, and it's like it's custom made to the user, and that's why I think like Anakin's is so iconic because it obviously is using a real life piece of machinery, that being the Graflex camera, so it's retaining so many of those pieces to have, and they put on pieces of a windshield wiper on the hilt, like and the bunny ears and all of that stuff. So yeah, like I think those are fantastic choices. I'm surprised you didn't mention maybe the temple guards as well.
Yeah, so there are 3 that have come into my mind while you were talking, and I was chastising myself for not bringing them up. It's the Temple Guards. I love their lightsabers. It's very cool, but also just it feels like kind of simple almost. I don't know, but I failed to mention, I think Gunji's is really cool.
Dude, yeah.
Gunji's is so unique. It's just like this basically like wooden lightsaber.
Yeah.
But also I love Jaro Tapal's, aka Cal's lightsaber.
It might be like when I'd have to do like a ranking at some point, and that would be such a niche thing. But like Cal Jaro Tapal's lightsaber, whether double bladed or single, I'm kind of more partial to the single blade.
Yeah.
It is so cool, dude.
Dude, okay, I'm gonna say this on the air just so I don't lose it from my mind, but like, can we do a lightsaber tier list? I think that would be a lot of fun.
Let's do it, dude. Okay. So Will and somebody else, I'm forgetting his name. I apologize if you're listening, but they actually did that on a live stream, and it took them like hours because there's just so many lightsabers, dude.
There's a lot. There is a lot. Yeah.
It's pretty sick. The thing about the Temple Guard one that I really like is I think it feels the closest it feels like the closest reminiscent piece of technology that exemplifies the High Republic aesthetic. Like their armor and their
You're so right.
The white and gold with like the leather, like that's so High Republic, and it feels like that's the only group of people that really still wear that in the prequels.
I bet you, and I'm just gonna headcanon this. The only reason why their garb and their lightsabers have not changed is because the way of the Temple Guard, like their charge, is just so traditionally oriented that to change it almost feels wrong. So yeah, that is so cool that it feels like this is just a remnant of the old Republic. That's so great.
Yeah.
Look at
I
you.
wonder
Look at you.
hey, what's up, man? Hey.
Hi.
Yeah, I wonder if they were like, well, let's see what we could bring in to kind of make the Jedi look like they're in their prime. And I'm like, the Temple Guards are probably the most traditional piece of the puzzle in the Jedi Order. So let's like maybe model them after the Temple Guard a little bit. Yeah, honestly though, like with your Rey and Ezra picks, I think those are both like elite picks. My only beef with Rey's saber is I wish it was a little bit longer. I wish it was double bladed, to be honest. But
it should have been. It should have been, or at least like Cal's, where like it can be deconstructed and turned into two. I think that would be really sick.
Yeah, what I don't like about Rey's hilt, like I love the functionality, I love the wrap, and I love the design, that the fact it's like looks like it's built from her staff, which I presume it is. The only thing is it is one of the chunkiest sabers. It is a very big boy, and I'm always like, I was like, maybe, I think it wouldn't bother me as much if maybe it was a little bit longer, a little bit more slender. But in terms of the ignition and just the actual design of it itself, like it's pretty sick. And hey, if any, like Rey knows her staff the best, like, I think she's fine with it, but
I'm really hoping with the Rey movie, it's going to be a saber staff.
Yeah, maybe she's upgraded it. I mean, even if it was more similar to like, not like a traditional double-bladed lightsaber like Maul's, but maybe something more similar to, I mean, when we see Empress Rey in that Vision in Rise of Skywalker, she has a double-bladed like fold-out saber that's similar to Pong Krell's.
Yeah.
And even the Temple Guard, their lightsabers do that kind of like, kind of folding mechanism. I like the idea of hers having that, but it being like, two different pieces of her staff. So maybe one side is that chunkier piece, and then the other side is maybe like a slender piece, and they kind of
so kind of like a saber pike almost.
Yeah, like a pike.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because a pike kind of gives like the shorter blades, but it gives you a really long hilt. And the way she fights, like I want to see her fight with that, like the way she fights in Force Awakens with her staff, but like a lightsaber.
It's kind of a no-brainer that she should have something like that.
Yeah, like, dude, it writes itself. Come on.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, maybe. I hope so.
Maybe.
Please.
All right.
You know my answer. It's Kanan's, and honestly, like that was half the appeal of the character for me. Is I was like, oh, he's a cool character. Oh, he's this cowboy Jedi. Yo, his lightsaber is sick. Like he's got like the kind of knight, almost sword type of guard on it with like the Suba on it, and just it's got the control box. I'm a sucker for control boxes on a lightsaber. Like ties back to the Ezra thing or Obi-Wan's or Luke's, like, and Anakin's. Like it makes it feel so like a real thing,
like utilitarian almost. Like every part of it has its use.
Yeah, exactly. Like it really, like Kanan's is one of those examples of like where, I mean, he is technically a prequel era Jedi, but like when I look at his lightsaber, I could see him being with Huyang building that lightsaber, Yeah. So
you love to see him like taking both parts from his belt and like putting them together,
It's so sick, man. I was eyeing this one lightsaber, and I do have a Kanan lightsaber. The way it connects is kind of funny, but it's not terrible. I had to go send it off to get fixed, but I was eyeing another one where it had a very seamless, just like that feature, and I was like, that is so cool. But then they messed up something with like the coloration on it, and I was like, why did you guys do that? Like now it doesn't look like it's a very obvious like sliver of black that I'm like, when you look at Kanan's hilt, it doesn't have that, and it made me upset because I'm like, dude, like that's That'd be my Star Wars party trick, to just be at Galaxy's Edge and be like, yo, check out my saber, and just press a button and detach it and then just do it real quick again. Like,
that'd be so cool.
It's so cool. I know it's such a niche feature that Kanan literally only does like one time, but it's iconic.
I do have a hot take for an honorable mention.
I know what you're gonna say. I think I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't make you mad.
No,
like,
I don't.
Every time I hear about this lightsaber, like, I always hear someone trashing it. And listen, it's not the best.
It can be one of two things. Can I take a crack?
You wanna guess?
I want to guess.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Man.
The one that I hope you're about to say is Ezra's first lightsaber.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. So I really like this lightsaber.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: when people watch Rebels, like, and I hear bad things about it, they're always like, "Dude, that lightsaber is so stupid." Have you played with that lightsaber in Blade and Sorcery, bro? Like, dude, you can. So the way that it works for me is like I can shoot it with like while the lightsaber's still ignited. So like I'll do slash and then like bang with one of the with you know just a blaster shot. It is so useful. And I thought to myself, if this was made in a different way that just kind of made it not look like a square, I guess. It is such a great idea that I think was really slept on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's really cool.
It's kind of busted, to be honest.
It is busted. It almost feels unfair. Like, the only way that it could be more busted was if it was an actual laser and not stun. Because I think it's a stun lightsaber blaster. But anyway, what was the other one that you think I could have been saying?
What is the other one that you think gets the most hate?
I've heard a lot of people trashing on Mace's lightsaber.
No, just it's from the same show.
Same show.
Yeah.
Oh, the Inquisitor lightsabers?
Yeah. Those get a lot of hate. I don't know if they get as much hate as Ezra's, but especially the helicopter flying away feature, they specifically like trash on.
I honestly would have put those on my list if it wasn't for the helicopter flying. I've always thought that was dumb. But when Marok uses it in Ahsoka, I think that was kind of a great way, and also the ninth and second sisters in the Jedi games.
Oh yeah.
I think that those are really good ways to show off just how cool those lightsabers can be. They have some of my favorite lightsaber fonts, like the sounds.
Yeah, the sound is so mean. They
sound so sharp and violent. And like some of them even have like runes etched on the circle there. Yeah, I think it just the spinning, even though like the lightsaber spinning is pretty dumb, I think using spinning mid combat like Marok and the Night Sister and stuff like that, that to me has always been, and I haven't heard anyone else other than me talk about this, so I'm just gonna patent this. It's very indicative of General Grievous and like his fear tactics that he uses mid combat. And in that way, it kind of captures the essence of the dark side. It's a very strong, very powerful, but also very easy technique. Like you turn yourself into a cleaver by simply pressing a button. It's a very easy power, but with proper discipline and judgment, aka Ahsoka stepping back one to do like one slice, to get rid of Marok. Like it was such a, I love that duel because it's a great dichotomy of the ideals of the light side and the dark side. But yeah, I digress. I just think they're neat. That's it.
To back up your point, the line that Luke says to Palpatine, your overconfidence is your weakness.
Exactly.
That is the definition of that lightsaber. It is the Inquisitorius being like, hey, like as soon as they do that, there's a switch in their head where they get overconfident. They're like, you're not going to beat this, It's
like, there's no way you can get past
time.
my... Yeah, they literally get beat every time. It never works.
Yeah, it's like, it is very, again, representative of the dark side. They are giving into a very quick and easy option, and it causes overconfidence, and they fail because of it.
There's only one man that mastered the propeller blade trick.
Who's that?
And even it's General Grievous, but even he was killed.
Yeah, that's true. Dude, if you would have given him one of those things, he would have gone crazy.
Imagine, because this is technically still a rumor, but a Star Wars What If is reportedly in the works. or it's rumored to be in the works. What if there's like an episode where it's like a repurposed General Grievous to serve the form of an Inquisitor? That'd be so sick.
If Grievous lived, he would have led the Inquisitorius. I have no doubt of that in my mind.
Oh man, that would have been so great. I would love that so much.
I imagine like it'd be so sick if he like his cape was the Inquisitor cape, like it was a red and black cape, and he's still using the red. And he's still using the blue and green sabers because that's his thing, right? Collecting Jedi lightsabers.
Yeah.
But even then, like maybe he's got a little bit of a paint job on his armor now, where he's not as maybe bone white, but he has some accents of like red kind of in between, just a little subtle touch, and I could easily see him being like he would be the Grand Inquisitor.
Here's the thing though, like the Inquisitorius and the Purge Troopers as well, they all have that black and red color scheme. So what if Grievous's armor was like kind of obsidian black and he had like red eyes, because he lost them. He lost them when like he blew up basically. Yeah. So he had to get new eyes. So now he is truly just pure cyborg. That'd be so cool.
That'd be
please
gnarly.
Someone make that happen.
Anyway, I was about to say, yeah, someone's got to make that art, and please don't use AI. All right, that's cheap.
Please don't use AI.
Because I was like, I could see Midjourney, it could make that, but I'm like, I want to see an artist do their take on that.
There's three names I'm thinking. So Purge Grievous, Grievous Inquisitor, or the Grand Grievous.
I think they could just keep him general. I think they
the Grand General. That actually sounds kind of
that
cool,
is pretty cool. Like a Grand General Grievous. Triple G, baby.
Grievous Inquisitorius. That sounds like a wild thing. I don't know.
What if they don't even call it the Inquisitorius? What if they just call it like the Fortress Grievous or something like that? Like it's literally like the order was named after him because he's the Jedi Hunter. But that'd only be Tartakovsky's Grievous, never canon Grievous.
Yeah, he would have to get some major upgrades or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be sick though. Man, that'd be so cool. I could just see a shot of like all the Inquisitors and him just in his like his cloak, like think of like Republic Commando when he shows up in that game, and he's just kind of like that silhouette of just his mask with the cloak over him, and then like but I imagine it, instead of it being that gray cloak, it's like the black with the red trim, and like the face or the face shell, the body is now all black, like this, like obsidian black, like if you dyed somebody's bones, black.
Yeah, listen, man, the blueprint's are already there because the Purge Troopers use electrostaffs like the Magna Guards. So, that's all I gotta say.
Like I said, it writes itself.
It writes itself. All right, Grayson.
What's your next question for me?
Here is my next question. So, how do you think the Force works?
That's a broad question. In what context?
Honestly, it can be like whatever way that you interpret it. When I was writing the question, I was thinking about the joke, that's not how the Force works.
Right.
So I was thinking to myself, well, how does it work? Like what is the Force's paradigm? What is its goal? What does it do? Mm-hmm. How does it work through the galaxy? And so I can tell you my answer if you want me to talk first. So who talks first? Who talks first?
I think I've got an answer.
Go ahead.
Obviously, I do not disagree with what they have done in, most recently Ahsoka, right? People were complained a lot about how Sabine's access to the Force was like, oh, what? That doesn't make any sense. And it's like, the Force has always worked that way. I'm reading Plagueis right now, and it adds up 2 and 2, like. It's always been that way, right? So in that sense of like a plain and simple answer of like on that level of like the Force, is that it's that wording from the Rise of Kylo Ren comic that Luke says, where it's sometimes the door is really small and sometimes it's really, or the river flows like a trickle, and sometimes it is a rampaging river, for Anakin Skywalker and for Luke that's the case, or someone like Sabine that's not the case. So in that sense, I think that way. But honestly, man, the Force, I don't think we'll ever know how it fully works. The thing is the Force is supposed to be mysterious. I mean, you can take, what we've learned from all these different projects, but I mean, it, like Obi-Wan says, is really the only thing you need to know about the Force is that it binds and penetrates the galaxy. Like that it is everywhere. Yeah. It is this permeating force. And that's the thing is I'm like we're always learning about the Force, but we'll never know everything about the Force. That's what makes the Force work, is like the fact that when I think about the Mortis gods or the world between worlds or whatever, like people complained in Ahsoka, like, oh, I wish we learned more about the world between worlds. And it's like, I didn't need to. Like, Rebels tells you everything you need to know. And in the context of Ahsoka, that is all you need to know. That's not the point. The point isn't to be like, oh, how is this happening or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's how it pushes Ahsoka's character forward. And that's really what the Force is. It pushes the galaxy forward. It is the ebbs and flow of the dark and the light and the balance between it. And
yeah, I 100% agree. I think that the Force isn't meant to be truly understood. I think that, as we have said once before, that to lay everything out as an explanation, like the world between worlds in Ahsoka, for Anakin to go like, well, Ahsoka, this is the world between worlds, and I came here because I did, like this, that would kind of ruin the moment, right? Exactly. It's the entire reason why people didn't like midichlorians, because it was an effort to explain the Force. And thankfully, we've kind of gotten back to the point where like the midichlorians even now are like still more of a mystery thing. So yeah, I don't think it's meant to be understood. I think that it is, to quote Mace Windu, the Force works in mysterious ways. It's like a teetering scale in the galaxy. Things are good, and then things are bad, and then they're kind of in between. That's basically how it goes. There's this strange, choreographed destiny that we don't know, what it's gonna be. Yeah. But at the very least, everyone has a part to play. Mm-hmm. And I think that it is, as you said, and as Obi-Wan said, surrounds us, penetrates us, binds the galaxy together. I think it is more than, how, because a lot of people interpret that as like, oh, like it works its way through like the Jedi and the Sith and stuff like that. No, it works through everybody. Even when they don't even think that it does, which is why, and I think that this will be a future episode that we will do, because we had this very brief discussion before, that I think the Force very strongly works through Han Solo. Like, Han is one of those people that it is just kind of constantly working through to achieve some sort of thing that we really don't know. And ultimately, I think when people are like, what does the Force want to achieve? Because, like, it gets rid of the Jedi, but then, it gets rid of the Sith, right? I think it's just this... it feels like a scale that is constantly trying to balance itself. Yeah. But for what purpose, we won't fully know. It's just kind of life and death and just that natural cycle there. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that it was an interesting question to ponder.
Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, we've gotten so many little tidbits that when you said that life and death thing, it made me think of how Luke explains the Force to Rey in The Last Jedi, which is really a scene that I really like, where it's showing like life and then death and decay and all of this, all of these different aspects. But I will always love the idea that we don't fully know how the Force works. Like it's this enigma. It's this vast and unexplained phenomenon that's like it's really cool, man. I like it. I like the Force.
Yeah. Love that guy.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm not just going to do that all throughout the episode. This one might be a little tough for you, buddy.
Okay.
You had to play one Star Wars game for the rest of your life. What would it be? Not necessarily your favorite, but the one you'd want to play forever.
Oh, man.
I don't even know the answer to the question for me, so.
That's really tough. Ooh. half of me wants to say the Old Republic MMO just because there's so much in there. But at the same time, I am not like in terms of like gameplay mechanics, I don't like MMOs all that much.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of player-oriented interactivity. There's just a lot of like you press a button and then something happens. And I mean, the same could be said for every game, but like
I was about to say, I was like, but I get what you're saying.
Well, it's like when you're in a battle, like you're queuing up move after move, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, the exact same thing could be said for Knights of the Old Republic too. But I guess it's like, I don't know, like with those kinds of games, there's not a lot of interactivity, like how more games are like a lot much more versatile in the controls than that. Yes, obviously, in every game you press a button, something happens. That's how it works. But like in the MMOs and stuff, you press the attack button and then it gets put in the queue, and then your guy will just keep on mindlessly attacking the enemy until they're dead. There's not really a lot of thought put into it, I guess. I don't know. That is really tough. I would say 1313 if it existed. But it doesn't. Man, I really don't know.
You need time to think about it. I do have my answer, I believe.
Yeah, if you have your answer, like, please take the reins for a moment while I simmer on this.
Yeah. So I think I have played a lot of Star Wars games in my lifetime, and a lot of them I love. But honestly, the one that I think is the most versatile in both its gameplay mechanics and storytelling is Jedi Academy. First of all, I think it has some of the best lightsaber fighting. And there's been different versions and variations. Like it is a game that still gets a lot of support today in various platforms. We play movie battles a lot. We also play movie duels, and not together, but when the multiplayer comes out for that.
Can't wait for that.
It's this, again, it goes back to kind of the era thing. It's this sandbox, but like even the main story of Jedi Academy also connects to my favorite era. It's right after Return of the Jedi, the rise of the new Jedi Academy, which has always been something that I want and the thing that I miss the most in canon. But like you get to create your own. I mean, you're playing a preset character, Jaden Core, but you, for all intents and purposes, you make your own Jedi. You get to choose, whether you're teetering to the light and the dark. You go on these missions through all like out the galaxy. I mean, from Tatooine to Bakura to Nal Hutta to, I mean, you're going everywhere. Eventually, spoilers for the end of the game, but I won't tell you why, you end up getting to go to Korriban, and you're going through all these Sith temples, and you and your Jedi peers, or maybe other people, are going through, and you're fighting all the, like, these big lightsaber battles, and it's just so cool. But again, even then, like the way that game bases itself on the engine of Jedi Outcast, and in Jedi Outcast, you don't start out with a lightsaber. You've got blasters and thermal detonators and things like that. You've got tricks up your sleeve. And so Jedi Academy, like that game, if you wanted to just be like, I'm not gonna be a Jedi, I'm just a mercenary, you're going through and you're taking out criminals or wherever you're going. Like, it's so vast, and I really love just how all-encompassing that game is. And yes, there will be Star Wars games that I will miss very dearly. Force Unleashed, Republic Commando, Knights of the Old Republic, the Jedi Fallen Order, and Survivor. I mean, I could go on. And Lego Star Wars, like that. That one. But like, when I think about Lego Star Wars, it's like once you 100% that game, like I don't really feel the need to go back to it anymore. Like I just think, unless I just want to play with a friend and be kind of chill about it. But Battlefront, like, that is the premier like battle experience, both the new and the old ones. But honestly, like I think Jedi Academy is the one that takes the cake for me. I mean, you can play with a double-bladed lightsaber. You've got all these different force powers, a lot of force powers. You've got your base ones, you've got your dark side ones, you've got your light side ones. And in the modded community, like they're like, all right, you can only play Jedi Academy with movie battles and stuff. Like, dude, this is gonna sound crazy, but I don't think we've even regaled this story to people. You and I hopped into the movie battles, the mod for Jedi Academy, and we we went to we joined a Lord of the Rings map where we were.
Oh my god, that was so cool.
Yeah, and I'm blanking on what it's called.
Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep. Yeah, I was like, it's not Mines of Moria. What is the other one? And we're all Star Wars characters. We weren't Lord of the Rings characters. Yeah. And we were all running through in the rain, and one team, we were trying to break down the door to get into Helm's Deep. And it was anyone from like Watto to Boss Nass to
IG-88.
Yeah, like Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Imperial Royal Guards.
Bastila, General Grievous.
It was crazy.
One of my favorite parts of that was we were on the technically the Urukai team, so we were attacking we were attacking Helm's Deep. And I went up as Grievous up to the gate, and I just broke it down with all 4 of my lightsabers.
Yeah.
I meet Bastila at the front, who like we start duking it out, and I almost immediately, like 5 seconds into the fight, I cut her down, and her player types in chat almost immediately WTF, which I just thought was so funny to me. Like I just imagined like Grievous breaking through the wall and then immediately cutting her down.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like characters like that, when you use them, you can't respawn. Mm-hmm. So like in that position, I would also be thinking the same thing. Like WTF, like I immediately died.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. That is so much fun. Yeah. So, all right. Are you satisfied with your answer, or like?
Yeah, I'm going Jedi Academy.
Jedi Academy. Yeah. So, with everything that you said, Jedi Academy is a very strong runner-up for me. However, I have to go back to my roots. If I had to only play one more Star Wars game forever, it would be Battlefront 2 2005.
I knew it.
Like I can't leave it behind, Like I think Complete Saga and 2005 Battlefront 2 were pretty much neck and neck for me when I first played them. But the one that I remember the most is that game. My brother Seth and I played that game over and over and over and over and over. And like during the summer when school was out, we would wake up like right in the morning, and I would be hearing him play Hero Assault on Mos Eisley, and I would be like so excited to jump in, and like we'd play the 501st campaign, and then we'd jump into Galactic Conquest, and we'd never finish it because it would always take forever. Because like if you do a versus match of Galactic Conquest and the parameters are total conquest with no point or time limit, it literally will not end until someone controls the entire galaxy. In which case, if both players are evenly matched, it'll take forever.
Yeah.
But there's something about that game that is just so intrinsically Star Wars to me. You have all of the iconic locations. You've got Clone Wars and Galactic Civil War, which at the time were the only canon eras, really. You've got of course, the Clone versus the CIS and the Empire versus the Rebels. But it's so great because you're playing as the little guy. You're playing as like the boots on the ground, the soldier. Battlefront was one of the pioneers of like the soldier type gameplay genre.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't know. That was like one of the first games of like boots on the ground. You're a soldier guy. You're not the big hero. But even then, if you wanted to be the best person on your team, would get the chance to play as the hero, like Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, and it like. Yes, I think in EA's Battlefront games, they are definitely powerful, but in the old Battlefront games, the heroes were whack powerful. Like, they were stupid powerful. Yeah. You could take out the entire team, like, with basically one hand. What was it? Grievous says in the game, he says, I could do this with 3 arms tied behind my back, which is like just a great Grievous line. But it's just so Star Wars because, and it also brought in my personal favorite capital ship combat, like starfighter combat in Battlefront, which is like you get in a starship, you fly into the hangar of the other ship, you take down its main systems, and then you fly back out. Like it's just so classic. Like, man, Battlefront 2 2005, that is so good. That's got to be my answer. Like if I had to choose one, yeah.
I think that makes sense because from what you've told me as well with how many memories and stuff you had with that game, I mean, like, I think you would be more inclined to pick Jedi Academy had you played those games when you were younger. Like, for me, I didn't play Jedi Academy first. I didn't even know Jedi Academy existed until like years after I played Jedi Outcast. And that's why Kyle Katarn, go back to our characters video if you want to know more about that, struck such a chord with me, is because I'm like, I have nothing but association with that of like, oh, this guy, it's after Return of the Jedi, you know, he used to be a Jedi, but he's not anymore. He's renounced those ways. I don't really know why. And then, you know, he's going on these missions for the New Republic as a mercenary. And then something happens, and you like it was just so cool to me. And then Jedi Academy just expounded on that, where it's like, oh, Kyle Katarn's your master now. You're basically getting to create your own Jedi, and also you get to go through. And basically, the game is broken into acts where you get to. There's like you start off with your lower, like your first 5 missions, and those are kind of more your simple missions, and then you go to the next thing, and you're at this point you're a Padawan, or not a Padawan, but kind of more like you're not just a trainee anymore. Like you've got more of a Padawan skill set, and then eventually like you get knighted, and then you get to do the Jedi Master levels. And those are like, I was thinking about it today, like one of the Jedi Master levels, you get to go to these caves where they're like just littered with these colorful rocks. It's very Ilum-like, but it's not Ilum. And there's all of these Sith there that are like there to stop you. And all you fight in that level are just Sith. There's no troopers or anything, like, and it feels very like dungeon crawly in a way. Like, and so that's because there's so many memories associated with that. And of course, me being the lightsaber guy, that's was so informative for that, because you got to choose, your first lightsaber, and then your lightsaber gets destroyed halfway through, and then you get to make your new lightsaber, which could be either be 2 lightsabers or could be a double-bladed if you wanted to, if you didn't want to just go single, which is really cool. And you get to choose the color and the hilt style. It was really, really just expansive for me, and that kind of gave the full like Jedi experience. But like, I also, I played Battlefront 2 around that same time as playing Jedi Outcast, but like, you have so many more memories tied to that. I mean, you played modded versions of the game that I didn't even know about.
I was gonna say, like, if we're bringing mods into the table, like the modding community for Star Wars Battlefront 2 2005 was like just, it was the first game.
It still is.
It's still so monumental. Like, but it was the first game that I had ever modded, and there's a plethora, like an absolute smorgasbord of amazing mods for that game. You've got like full-scale Geonosis maps, like an ultra-realistic map where, if you get shot once, you're dead. There's a Battlefront Extreme where like you've got Shadow Troopers and Arc Troopers and stuff like that. Yeah. There's Battlefront Ultimate where you get the clone assassins with 2 blades and stuff. There's also the Dark Times, which is specifically where I had realized that was what the era was colloquially called, where you get to play as Starkiller, and like on the other side, it's like Rom Koda with like rebel cells and stuff like that, like his own rebel mercs, and it's its own curated campaign too. Like it has its own campaign, which is just so cool. And then there is the Total Conversion map or mod that brings in the Knights of the Old Republic era, so you can fight on like the Endar Spire and stuff like that. You've got Revan and Malak and all that, which is just absolutely wild. It's like, and then of course, who can forget, except for mostly everybody, which was my favorite mod, Christmas in Jinglin' Town, which was my favorite Star Wars Battlefront 2 mod, where essentially someone had created this very 1970s suburban town where it's snowing, and the entire soundtrack for the map is just classic Christmas music. The vehicles are cars, like they're all sedans basically. All of the guns shoot snowballs instead of blasters. And the clone troopers and the droids are colored like Christmas trees. Yeah. Like it's just like green and red. And then the hero for the Republic is Santa, and then the CIS hero is called Evil Santa, which they just have like different lightsabers. But I don't know. Like I remember I used to have some buddies on the community, and like around Christmas time, we would load up in Christmas in Jinglin' Town, and something about choosing a Republic trooper to spawn inside a regular suburban home, to walk outside and get in a sedan and run over a super battle droid while hearing, "Oh, the weather outside is right." It's just like, I don't know, that was just so great to me. So yeah, it's something about that is just really perfect for me. So yeah, my answer is Star Wars Battlefront 2 2005.
I think both the games we picked are like basically the games in the Star Wars legacy and Community that are like the most modded. Like
Definitely
both Battlefront
some of the
2
most
and
influential.
yeah, like those games, I mean, are still getting modded today because of how much they encapsulate two different types of experiences, and you could kind of do both. Like you could do like big scale battles in Jedi Academy, but like Battlefront 2 kind of serves more of that like soldier gameplay, like you said, whereas Jedi Academy is more of the Jedi gameplay. Because I mean, admittedly, like, and you know this, like the Jedi gameplay in Battlefront 2 isn't just like, oh my gosh, it's so in depth. Like you're just clicking, swinging, and then you block and you throw. Like, you know,
it's very simple, but you are super powered.
Yes.
So I think it honestly taps into the soldier's perception of the Jedi, you know, which is just like this superhero basically.
Exactly.
So my next question for you, and this is going to be kind of a big one. So feel free to think about it. Take your time, or maybe you've been cooking this up this entire time and we just never talk about it. You have been chosen to create the next Star Wars project. This could be a movie, a show, a game, a book, whatever. The higher-ups have given you full creative control. What would you make? Would you bring on anyone on the team to help you? This can be multiple things, one thing, just whatever you want to make.
So this is interesting because I have a question later on that's kind of similar. Not quite, but it's similar enough. But I'll wait, and we can maybe, if we need to expound on it, we can. But I am tasked with making one full creative freedom. This is gonna sound. Well, I don't. Gut reaction, okay, and this isn't my definitive pick, but my gut reaction is a Jedi Academy movie, not set in Legends, set in canon, with whoever is left of the Jedi. Personally, I would want it to be Luke, Ezra, Ahsoka, Sabine, and depending on where Ahsoka season 2 goes, I was blanking. Oh, and Ben Solo. He's probably if he's around, sure, but probably not. And Ben Solo, like that would be what I would like. I'd really like a new age thing, but I don't think that's gonna be my pick. That would be cool, but I don't think that's gonna be my pick. Am I making a movie or just the next project?
This could be a movie, a show, a game, a book, whatever. Could be anything.
Oh, okay.
It could be literally anything. Like you're given full creative control.
We actually have talked about this then a little bit.
Yeah.
I need, and it's going to be an amalgamation of different games, but it is a game nonetheless. But for all intents and purposes, it would be a Mandalorian video game or just a bounty hunter video game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes into 1313. But basically, what I want it to have an open world. If it's one planet, I'm fine with that. I mean, I think it would be cool if it was maybe a mixture of different planets. And I know we're getting Outlaws soon, so we'll see what that's like. But indulge me here for a second.
Okay.
I want it to be a mixture of 3 of my favorite franchises and just games in general. A mixture of the core template would be Red Dead Redemption.
Great idea.
Yeah, very like open world. Instead of a horse, you have maybe a speeder or something like that, and you could obviously take other people's speeders or land speeders. Great. Yeah,
dude, having bounty hunters sent after you, like the more crime you do.
Exactly, like and being able to get bounties on a bounty board. I mean, for literally, it would just be Red Dead 2 Mandalorian. Obviously with a Star Wars code, but I want there to be also kind of a skill tree, a level up system, a crafting system.
Yeah.
I think I would want that to be kind of inspired a little bit by The Last of Us with their crafting system where you're gathering, and it wouldn't be in more of like a scrounging way of like, oh, look at me, I found a penny, you know, like more so like you've gotten, say it is the Mandalorian, right? It's like, oh, you've got Beskar now. Like you can choose what you want to use this Beskar for, like, and you would take it to more of like a forger to a blacksmith, or I guess to and I guess the armorer would be the technical term.
The armorer, yeah.
And it wouldn't be necessarily the armorer, but say a armorer, because this could be like, say, High Republic Mandalore, like if you wanted to, like that era.
That could be very cool.
Yeah, that could be really cool, because then you have the threat of like the Nihil, but also say like you could have dark side sects of different Force users, and also you could run into the Jedi if you wanted to. Like, say you get enough of a level, like the Jedi are going to come after you because you've been doing some evil deeds. But I would really like kind of a level up and crafting system, a mixture. The last game would be God of War. I really would like there to be a melee kind of combat system that kind of infuses Last of Us and God of War, and a level up system like God of War, where you're picking up and you're getting new abilities. Say you use some of your Beskar or whatever to make a spear, kind of like Mando has. Not like that, but you can really just kind of tailor your playstyle to all of these different things. And so it gives you this kind of open world RPG kind of crafting experience where you're kind of making your own legacy of this bounty hunter or Mandalorian kind of set in an old period. And honestly, I would say don't make it like going to all these different planets, but I like the idea of like, say it's like in a specific system, or maybe not even a system, just like in different areas. So say you could go to like, if you want that kind of urban setting, you have like Nar Shaddaa, and then say maybe you have something similar to more of like a foresty type planet with mountains and lush terrain, and whatever. If you want to create a new planet, you could. And then maybe having like a more apocalyptic style planet that leans itself more to like Tatooine or something like that. And then later on down the line, and it's not the whole planet, it would just be like a really big portion of the planet, because there's limitations. But I think that's enough.
It's like wherever the story would go, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
maybe you could like create like a droid companion as well.
Absolutely. I mean, being able to have maybe like your own kind of cast of characters, whether it's on your ship or being able to be like, hey, I'm going to be more of like a lone gun Mandalorian, or it's like, no, like I'm going to be more friendly. Like I'm a bounty hunter, but like I'm not an evil Mandalorian. Like I'm going to, bring in these people, and hey, even if say at one point you befriend a Jedi, and this Jedi is like, hey, you're doing good cause for the Republic.
That'd be cool.
I'm going to join you,
Or if it's like if you're in the High Republic era, what if you like start doing jobs for the Nile, and then because like it's all dependent on your choices. So like you start working with either the Nile or with the Republic, right? Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, it's a very ambitious idea, but it's one that I think would make one of the greatest Star Wars games of all time, and would require years and years of development. But
it would take a lot of work. Yeah.
But if I had to pick one developer, I mean, it would either be Rockstar or Naughty Dog. I mean, those are like the two that are like, they do those really big, like, 10-year long projects. And I mean, that's literally what I think it would take for this game. It would take like 10 years, but like once it came out, it's like, oh my gosh, this is one of the greatest games I've ever played,
I'm really hoping that something like this, or just a big project like this, is currently being in development, but it's just not out yet. Like it's not being reported about yet. Yeah. Because I mean, there are some stuff that we don't know that's just being worked on. So, when you said God of War game, I was like, oh, what if it was like an ancient Sith game that was God of War coded?
Oh yeah, very like melee and combo infused and power scaling. I mean, that would be great too.
That could be really sick.
Yeah. I think if I had to, say I wanted to bring like I'm not gonna bring Dave in. I mean, Dave could do whatever he wants. He could come oversee it a little bit. But I think, if we're going for this kind of High Republic set era of like, hey, you're not a Jedi, that's what we think when we think High Republic. You're a Mandalorian. And I don't know all the lore about the High Republic. I'm sorry, but I think there's still Mandalorians around. So,
probably. I don't see anything that says that they're not. I'm wondering if that. Well, no, Satine was the person to bring in that peacekeeping part of their race, right? So I'm going to assume that before her, they were still warmongering, maybe.
I mean, and Death Watch still exists, so like they existed during that time of peace. So I mean, it's not like they ever got killed off or anything. So,
and I think the Mandalorian Civil Wars were still technically canonized because Boba Fett's armor chain link lists Jaster Muriel as one.
Yeah, well, I think there's an episode of The Mandalorian where I think they even say when he meets Ahsoka, he's like, we used to fight, you know, like our people, or something like that. I've got to get the specific point down, but yeah, like there's a lot of opportunities for enemy types and just being able to kind of create this authentic, bounty hunter. I think it would be Mandalorian. I think that's what people would want. And I think that would lean itself to be the upgrade system of like, oh, you got a new chunk of Beskar. Like you can kind of go in this direction, and it allows you to like tailor how you want to play. Like if you want to be more long range, or if you want to be melee, or if you want to be more gadget based, like
it'd be really cool if you could team up with some of your friends on missions as well.
Dude, if they had like an online mode, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Or like how Red Dead does it, where like they just give you the entire open world, right? And it's anybody's game basically. Yeah. That would be so cool.
Yeah,
man. So a couple game ideas I have. I would love to see an Imperial Commando game, basically like a continuation of Republic Commando. I would really like to see that story be continued in canon. Obviously, the basic answer is I want to see 1313 be made. I really hope KOTOR is still being remade, because like it was canceled and then it was uncanceled and then it was canceled and then someone was like, actually it's not canceled, I promise. So we don't know what's happening with that right now. I know that you and I once had this conversation before, and you said you didn't like the idea of the name, but I think just for the sake of consistency, I think it would be really cool if there was a TV show, just a little TV show of Tales of the Sith. I think that it could, the prospect of that could be really neat, because we have a connective tissue here. The first episode would be about Dooku being trained as a Sith, from that. I think that could be really cool. However, one episode or like string of episodes, for one, I think it should be longer than the original Tales of the Jedi season, just so we can explore more characters. But I really want to see like this be the introduction of Starkiller to the main timeline, right? Of the canon timeline, of have it be Vader training his first Inquisitor, aka Galen Merrick, aka Starkiller. I just think that could be really cool. Just like a way to make him fit into the canon without making him like wildly powerful, right?
Yeah.
I just think that would be really neat. And then I'd also like to have a movie be made in the Old Republic era, but have it be far removed from like the main happenings of the galaxy. So that way it is so like focused with just what's happening in its story. It's not worried about the overarching stuff of like Star Wars, of like, oh, is this gonna happen, that it's not connecting everything. It's just an isolated self-contained Star Wars story. I think that would be very cool. So that's just kind of the idea. Obviously I think Dave's gonna be in all of our projects because he's the creative exec now, so he kind of has to be. But I was gonna say, like, I'd probably have you on one of my projects just so that we could write it together, just to make sure that it's good, because everybody knows at this point, when Grayson and I come up with Star Wars stuff, we cook. All right, we cook. Exactly. Those are just some ideas off the top of my head. I just think that they would be really fun projects to pursue.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, if you then I guess that does that leans itself to the it is my fourth question, which is, I guess, maybe if you get a definitive answer for this one, and then this kind of leans into the next one. But what is an untold Star Wars story you want to see visually, and what medium? So, so it's the similar thing of like basically one story that has not been told, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, I want to see, Mother Talzin's teenage years or something. Like, I don't know. Like, it can be like literally whatever you want, but yeah, so I guess maybe like if you were making it, what was the one that you would make? But then what is one that you just want to see?
So like untold in like any media, like this is just not something that we've seen.
It's only visual though, and what I mean visual is like, so it has to be a game, TV show, or movie. So no books or, I mean, I guess comics are technically visual, but I'm talking like you're seeing it, you know?
I would really love to see Grievous's canonical origin.
Yeah.
Because we technically don't know what that is. There's a lot of, hints to his origins, like being similar to Legends stuff. But we really don't see how it goes down. And I would really like to just see Grievous actually be expounded upon as a character in canon. I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously, I would love for there to be a visual form of Plagueis,
Yeah.
Like this has been written in the Plagueis book, right? But again, we don't know what it is in canon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to think about some more. I'm gonna pass it over to you for a moment, just while I think a little bit more on what I want to see.
Yeah. So the project that I'm standing by, the project that I would make would be, that game. If I could assemble the forces, if I could assemble the proper development team and everything and the right set of writers, that's what I would go for. But one that I just want to see, that I've been waiting on, or I think is just kind of a no-brainer. Man, yeah. You made a lot of good suggestions. Honestly, like, this is really simple and just immediately comes to mind. I really would like to see Mando, like Din Djarin, pre-Mando, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
It's like, if I think about it this way, like I kind of view Din Djarin like John Wick, where like there is a point that happens where it's like, okay, there's the character here, but then here's the character that we know about and we've heard these things about, but we've never seen it, right?
Yeah.
I think about the Prison Break episode in Mando season 1, and they're like, oh, we used to run jobs with him all the time, and blah blah blah. And this girl was, did they have a thing? I don't know. And I'm like, I want to see that. I want to see Din Djarin like what before he got to the point in the beginning of the Mandalorian. Basically, Din Djarin pre-Grogu. I want to see that. Like, I want to see him, where he gets to the point where he's at least he has his helmet, and so he's even as young as 15 all the way until, I mean, at the time of when he gets Grogu, like, he's in his late 30s.
Yeah.
That gives you basically, like, say you get like 18-year-old Din Djarin for the next 20 years, like, because he gets inducted into the Mandalorian culture as a child during the Clone Wars. So, assuming you give a couple more buffer years of that, say he's like 8 years old, you say you give him another 5 years, right? Like, and you've got that entire, you've got the Dark Times period, you've got the original trilogy period. Yeah. Like, that's a lot of time to see what Din has been up to, And I know Boba Fett is out there. That's kind of like what people, they're like, well, we just want to see Boba Fett during that time. But I'm like, no, like, I want to see what Din Djarin was up to, because, like, he's got a whole, like, 35 years before him that, like, I just don't know about.
What turned Din Djarin into the Mandalorian? You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, because we know a couple are, like, roaming around there. I mean, obviously, most notably is Bo-Katan's people, and then we've got Din Djarin's people and Boba Fett. Like, that's really the main ones we know about. And I'm like, I want to see Din Djarin's early adventures. I think that would be... See, to me, if they're with this Mandalorian movie, and I know it's Mandalorian and Grogu, so it wouldn't make any sense, but, like, if I was to make a movie, I'd be like, make a prequel movie about Din Djarin. Like, because that way it's disconnected from, like, hey, you've never seen the show. Well, here's this character before you've known him, like, here he is in the height of the original trilogy, one, say, overarching story, right?
Or, like, he's meeting all the people that he knows.
Yeah. Even if it was an animation, dude, I don't care. Like,
Clone Wars style animation, I'd be down for it. I was about to say,
Clone Wars Din Djarin, dude, give it to me. Like, I want it.
I think I would also really love to see the Mandalorian Wars, like, in Knights of the Old Republic. I want to see Revan versus Mandalore the Ultimate, because we've never seen that. We have only seen,
that would be
like
a fantastic live action trilogy.
I think that could be really awesome because, I mean,
show.
Yeah, or show. It's been touched upon very, very lightly, like Kanan telling Sabine the Jedi won the war with Mandalore, or in the Clone Wars final season, you see that thing that they imprisoned Maul in. It's like a relic of a long gone era that they said that they used for Force wielders.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
That's the era that they're referencing. It's just a fact at this point, right? Like, I would love to see that be touched upon because they say that like Mandalore the Ultimate versus Revan was like a legendary battle, and I really want to see that. I just think that'd be really cool.
That's a great one. That honestly, that might trump mine right there. I think that would be an amazing story to be shown. I mean,
it'd be so cool.
Just a Mandalorian Wars movie or trilogy or series, like especially if it was one with like the budget of like Andor or something.
God,
like I mean,
that could be so awesome.
The fidelity and like just, I mean, that would get people in seats, you know, or Disney Plus subscriptions or whatever. Like,
I mean, dude, there's so much story to tell there. I mean, theoretically, they could, make Star Wars movies forever. It's not saying that I want them to, but there's a lot of content that could be there.
I mean, if I was, this is kind of getting into a separate discussion, but in the same vein, like if I was, in the room when we were like, all right, what are we making next? Immediately, I'm like, all right, our heavy hitter to come back to theaters is, a Old Republic. Say you announce it as one movie and then they're like, all right, if it does successful enough, it'll be a trilogy. We'll make it a trilogy of the Mandalorian Wars, or like that time period, because it's like we know it exists in canon. We have templates and sources to pull from Legends. We can kind of create a new story, but obviously we're gonna throw Revan in there. Like, first of all, toy sales, like Revan, dude, would sell like hotcakes, brother.
Yeah,
like,
it would be nuts.
Yeah, and like, and so
imagine if they put Tar Vizsla in that story too.
That would be crazy, bro.
That would be the perfect way to fit him in there,
Yeah, dude.
That's the dark saber is the connective tissue, and Professor Huang, we could have him in there too.
Yeah. Wait. How do we know the name of man? Well, even in canon. All right. Here's a random pitch. All right. Let's say the first movie is like, we get that battle between Revan and Mandalore the Ultimate. Well, at this point, they cannot the Mandalorians, like, they've lost the war. They can't choose, they don't have a new leader yet, but we find out that possibly Mandalore the Ultimate's son is, say he's, 5, 6 years old, and that child is force sensitive, and the very end of the Mandalorian Civil War or not Mandalorian Civil War, the Mandalorian Wars is when Tar Vizsla is discovered, and it creates this more contentious conflict of like, oh, you've won this war and now you're taking the first Mandalorian Jedi. I don't know, like, that is some crazy plot twist stuff right there.
What if Mandalore the Ultimate was Tar Vizsla?
Yeah.
Because when he died, the Jedi took his saber and took it in the temple. So what if the reason why, the Mandalorians wanted to get it back was because when Revan defeated him, he took his lightsaber and brought it back to the temple. That would give
such deep context to the Mandalorian Wars.
That would be just so wild, especially
Let us
because
cook.
Yeah, especially because like the way that the Mandalorians see it, like the darksaber is the symbol of power. So who other to wield it than Mandalore the Ultimate, right?
First Jedi Mandalorian,
Yeah, that'd be absolutely wild.
That would actually be a really interesting story as well, to say, like, before the Mandalorian Wars, Tar Vizsla does get pulled at the Jedi Order, right? And and like he's been training as a Jedi, but now we hit this crux in the story where Tar Vizsla has to choose his people or the Jedi Order, and ultimately, like, he decides to, like, he's like, I'm not gonna let my people be slaughtered anymore. Like, I'm not gonna let them. Like, I'm going to defend them in this war, and he is then the people's champion. And
he
then
unites
Revan comes
them.
in. Yeah, exactly. He unites them together, and they're like, we're gonna stand against the Jedi. Like, the Jedi are, acting, especially with the looming darkness of like Revan basically becoming this warrior, leading the Jedi, which is very out of turn for the Jedi. And so then, it leads into this ultimate battle of Mandalore versus Revan, and ultimately.
We're creating the next blockbuster right here.
Oh, dude, like it would get, and I'm like, even if Revan isn't the main character, you know, like even if it was like he was like this kind of enigmatic figure that is very prominent, like maybe he's the Vader of that, where like, you know, or like this torn character, we see him going through this, but he's also like, he's not the main character. Like you can create a diverse cast of characters in that story as well, new characters. I don't care. Like just, but if you're telling this grand story with this, like that could give so much history to both the Mandalorians and the Jedi.
That'd be just such a great way to tie in, you know, what's really popular with Star Wars right now, which is, you know, the Mandalorian. So, God, that'd be so good. All right.
Yeah. Like, dude, imagine if it was literally like the Mandalorian Wars, like part 1 or something like that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That was a movie, like people would be like, oh, Mandalorian, I know that, you know? And then the poster has like a Jedi or has like Revan and like Mandalorians. You're like, what is that? And then it like, you get a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And we don't get the traditional crawl. We get more of like an ancient crawl with some voiceover of someone telling like, oh, like this is, you know, a long time ago, like, or even if they don't have the, like it's like maybe Hugh Wang or someone like that regaling the story of like, this is the story of when the Mandalorians and the Jedi were at the height of their rivalry or something.
Well, it could be like the movie could start with Ahsoka asking Hugh Wang to tell one of his stories, you know, in hyperspace. And then he starts telling it, and then, you know, there you go. It would be wild if like when it did when it started doing the crawl or like the narration, it would start playing the Old Republic theme where it's like boom, 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 you know?
Yeah.
That would be really great. Oh, gotta get that ball rolling.
We just collaboratively cooked on some of possibly the greatest projects that may never happen.
Yeah. We're just gonna get Poggle the Lesser of the movie, I guess.
That's what I want to see.
That'd be great.
Well, I technically asked you that question, so I think it is now back to you.
Yeah, it's onto my fourth question, which is, and you know this one because this is when I pitched the episode idea, which is, Grayson, who do you like watching fight in a lightsaber duel the most?
Oh, I forgot about this question, to be honest.
Who is the most entertaining for you to watch duel in a fight?
Oh, man.
And so while you're thinking, I'll go ahead and answer, just so I'll answer my own question. Probably my favorite person to watch fight is Darth Maul. I think Maul is so much fun to fight because, or so much fun to watch fight because
you're like, come here, Maul.
He is in a boxing match. He is just, and he's a absolute phantom menace in every fight that he's in. You know, like he's snarling, he's making like all these like rah, like groans and screams and stuff, and he's just he is so incredibly violent.
He's trained as a weapon.
Yeah, he's basically this embodiment of anger and rage in the dark side. But at the same time, it's like this very controlled chaos, you know what I mean? Whereas like when you watch Palpatine, it's just he's embracing any emotion he has. Maul is this very intentional vessel for rage that when you watch him fight, it's controlled, but it's a controlled violence. It's a focused violence. And it's just an absolute pleasure to watch. Like I love, like Sam Witwer just does such a great job at Maul because when you hear him like, you know, just groan and snarl while he's fighting, he's like a rabid dog, or you know, I don't know.
He's
so entertaining.
This is what he has waited on for so long. He is itching. He is like, you know, fiending for this fight, right? Like he is that was literally his sole mission. Like, brother, you got to get back on Plagueis. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
He's barely been in it, but like the little bits, I was like, this is the interesting thing about Plagueis is that book was written as Clone Wars was happening. So like a lot of the stuff that is being said, and I'm like, this still fits into canon because Clone Wars is canon. So it you know, gives itself a lot to that. But Maul is a phenomenal choice. I think he's probably in my top 3 picks because immediately I was thinking of him. I do have my number one pick though, I think.
All right. Yeah,
I'll do my runner-up first. Number 2 is Balin's Skull. I love the way he fights.
Yes, he's such a good fighter, dude.
Even Shin as well, but the way they fight is very, I'm a big fan.
Stylistic.
Yes.
But Balin especially is extremely fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
Like he feels like I don't want to go into this, but he feels like a Form 1 user, you know? Where like Form 1 is like just kind of the basics of lightsaber fighting, but Kit Fisto namely was a master of Form 1, where like it shows that even this most simplistic of fighting styles down to the fundamentals, you can still be an absolute menace on the field if you master the fundamentals, right? So yeah, Balin's a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, especially when he gets angry.
Yeah, that like his attacks are so heavy, and it's. I guess this is my second runner-up that I wasn't even thinking about, but leads also similar to Kylo Ren. I love the way Kylo Ren fights. I mean, just the brutality. I mean, it is literally like a broadsword. He cleaves through his enemies. It is like, if you see this guy, like, I mean, obviously Vader's intimidating, but that lightsaber alone, like, it instills fear of like, oh my gosh.
Very untamed.
Yeah.
Like
just that crackling as it cuts through the air and it just decimates anything that cuts through its path.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna go back just a little bit on what I said. I equated Maul to a rabid dog. Maul is more like a trained dog, like meant for the pits, whereas Kylo Ren is a rabid dog. That's literally what he is.
Erratic. Yeah, fits his saber fits the personality.
Unstable.
My number. There you go. My number 1 though is Luke Skywalker.
Ooh, very good choice.
And specifically framing that in the way that like the new projects have kind of portrayed the way he fights, whether that's Battlefront 2 or The Mandalorian. Yeah. The way he fights is so fluid, but I am a sucker for people who fight with a two-handed grip. Yeah. And the way he just kind of like it feels so classic to me, where like a lot of like, I love the Clone Wars, but a lot of Jedi that fight in the Clone Wars, they're not my favorite to watch fight, because a lot of them are doing fancy twirls, and I mean, I love that because it shows like how in tune they are. I'm not hating on that. Yeah. But like, to me, when I see like Luke has kind of created this own style, like he's kind of taught himself, because I mean, he learned a little bit from what he saw from Obi-Wan, right? But other than that, like, he's very fluid. If he spins it all, it's very, very graceful, and it's very orchestrated, like attacks. If you're listening to audio, I'm sorry you're missing out on my beautiful demonstrations here as I sit here in front of my camera. But like, I just love the way he attacks. It's very like you said, fundamental, but it also feels unique. You don't really see many people fight like he does.
Luke's fighting style, especially in like when he's fighting against the Dark Troopers, he's very graceful. He's kind of like water when he fights, basically. Yeah. It's almost tactile, as if like,
just like
like he's in control of the situation the entire time. That's a good pick. Good pick.
Yeah. And that used to not be the case. I think probably back when I was younger, I would have said something else, but like I would have said Star Killer, like that. Yeah. It's just like, 'cause it's so crazy. And don't get me wrong, I love fast-paced fights, but you can ask Cole. One of my new things is I love a really good choreographed fight where they actually feel like they are in control of their lightsaber, and they are striking with deliberate blows. That stimulates my mind. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like Ahsoka's lightsaber fights hit so good for me, because they're so good. Like, even when Hayden's fighting, like, it still feels like it's in the prequels, but Ahsoka's, has she's been in that point now where it's a blend of the prequels and the originals, where like, and she's got the two lightsabers, whereas you see someone like Luke or Shin or Sabine or even Ezra, like, they've all got distinct fighting styles, and I love seeing, I guess it just kind of goes to that testament of that post Return of the Jedi era, or even that original trilogy era of fighting that feels distinct, very, very Boken Jedi, which I really like. And I say Luke because I also really like the way Kanan fights, but Kanan fights, I would say, I mean, he changes forms up a lot. Like there's some points when he's fighting Sabine, he fights like Dooku, you know, like he puts the hand behind his back. And I'm like, that's awesome because you see in the comic books that Kanan trained with Depa Billaba with all sorts of forms. So he's a very versatile fighter. But I mean, that Kanan's iconic pose is either to the side or to the front. And that is very, very Luke Skywalker to me. And so that's where I think that kind of comes from. But I mean, dude, just seeing Luke when he takes out those Dark Troopers, man, like there is just something that I'm like, yes.
Also in the universe, of my favorite pick, I also just really love watching Obi-Wan fight. I mean, not only is he my favorite character, but he is like the master of defense.
Yeah.
Anytime you watch him fight, my guy is basically just turning whatever attack you're doing to him and just kind of throwing it back at you in the best way possible. And the one of the greatest examples could be his final duel versus Maul, which is just his perfect defense, man. I mean, he knows exactly what you're gonna do. So yeah, I thought you would like that question. So
yeah, I know lightsabers. All right, well, I've got my fourth question. I'd say simple one, but there's some debate here. I definitely have my answer. In your opinion, what is the most underrated Star Wars project?
Most underrated Star Wars project.
And I'm going to keep that in the frameworks of like TV shows and movies, I would say.
Okay, definitely narrows it down. That's helpful.
Yeah, because I'm not talking like, oh, this one book is so underrated, you know, like I'm thinking more in the...
I'm going to think that we have the same answer, but I'm going to have you answer your own question first.
As I'm thinking, like looking at back on our tier list, and I'm like, all right, what do I think was underrated? I think there's three main answers that I'm sticking to, but there's one that's triumphant. I'll give my two runner-ups because that's what we've been doing all episode because it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
First runner-up is Visions. I think Visions is wildly underrated.
Oh, yeah.
I love the vast array of content from all the different cultures and storytellers. My second runner-up, my second place is The Phantom Menace. I still think that movie is wildly underrated, and
I know what the number one is now.
You know.
I know.
You know.
I know.
Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Bro, slept on. So good.
I was gonna say I hadn't thought of Visions because honestly it's even underrated in my own mind. Like I rarely think of just how amazing Visions is, but I was going to say Phantom Menace and Solo. Solo was my number one. That we're there. Like Solo is such an underrated story because it came out at a bad time, pretty bad time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just I really like it. Like it's kind of turned into a comfort movie for me now because I just really enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, you know, is the story necessary? No, but like it's really detached from, you know, other than having Han Solo and Chewbacca, it's really detached from the original trilogy. It's a really cool one-off story. I love the cast. I love the score in that film. I love the different elements it combines. It's just really entertaining to me. Like I just really enjoy that movie, and I know it gets a bad rap. People are like, "Oh, this movie's awful," and I'm like, "Is it though?" Like I don't think it's awful. Like
are you just saying it's awful, or are you saying it because everybody else said that it was awful? People like to do that. It's really annoying.
And I think people have a bad taste in their mouth with Solo because it was, 5 months after The Last Jedi and people were really down on Star Wars, and that was kind of the first thing we got back. But like honestly, when that movie was the universe for me where I was like, oh yeah, no, like I didn't love The Last Jedi, but I liked this movie. That was a good movie. Like I liked it.
Yeah, that was how we both felt actually. I think Solo really understands Han as a character.
Yes.
I think it gets him down pretty much to a T, and it is now, like you said, was it necessary? No, but now that it's out, I feel like it's a core part of his story that every time, if someone hasn't seen it, I'm like, dude, you got to watch Solo. It's really good.
Yeah, I have some friends that like they didn't see Solo for so long because of how down they were on Star Wars. They're like, I can't go see it. And that, like, I remember I had in a weird story. I remember I have a friend, and he is very much a like a critic. He has very like niche takes and is kind of a contrarian where he's just like, oh, well, I think this, but like his favorite movie is 2001: A Space Odyssey. Great movie. I love that movie. It's not for everybody, but I love it. But he would always clown on me at work because he would be like, oh yeah, like Star Wars sucks. It's not better than 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I'm like, that's fine, man. Like I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not offended by this. Yeah. But he said, he was like, yeah, like one afternoon I went to go see Solo in a movie theater and I liked that movie. And I was like, coming from him, I was like, all right, like this movie definitely gets just like an instant hatred for it because of it just existing.
There are too many people that just hate stuff for the sake of hating it.
Yeah.
That's why I think the internet has been a massive detriment to media literacy.
Yeah.
I think people, if they just hear that something's bad, they're like, oh, I guess it sucks. I have that opinion too now. Have you actually seen it? Or did, one of my favorite quotes is, did a YouTuber give you that opinion? Which I just think is really funny.
It's so helpful to go into things just without having an opinion beforehand.
Yeah, I think it's fundamentally important to form your own opinions on something.
Yeah.
Before you judge it,
And there's nothing wrong with like looking for other people's opinions to kind of help formulate your own after the fact. Like I think about The Last Jedi. I remember we walked out of that and we were just confused. We were I was like, did I like that? Like,
yeah.
Well, I liked these things about it, but I didn't like these things about it. Like that was kind of stupid. And I'm like, but no, like that's, isn't that just Star Wars? And I was like, but like, why did Luke throw the lightsaber like that? Like that's, the whole thing. And I remember like once we looked it up, we were like, oh, like a lot of people feel this way. Yeah. Like,
and we're like, maybe we're mad about it now.
Yeah. And I was like, are we the baddies? Like, like I should like this. I love Star Wars, and that was, I think that informed a lot of where I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to love everything in Star Wars and that's okay. Like,
that started our acceptance arc.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that of just being. But when Solo came out, I was like, no, like there's nothing. I like this movie. It's developed very well. It's cast very well. I like the action scenes in it are wildly entertaining, in my opinion. Like I was thinking about that shot of when they're on Kessel and they're just like there's this tracking shot of when he's going to get when Lando's going to get L3's body. Absolute banger cinematography right there. Like it's the I'm like, ooh. Ooh, and then
when it follows Han backing up into the ship as he's shooting his blaster.
Yeah,
that
dude.
one's really good too.
Like the transition, and even like, dude, when they're going through doing the Kessel run and escaping the maw, and they're like put a little bit of fuel into the ejector. Like, I was like, this is so cool, dude.
They jettison the escape pod.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Rest in peace, escape pod that they never got back.
It just feels like a very pure Star Wars story. Like it really does feel like a Star Wars book kind of just translated to the big screen, and I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, it scratches that itch, I just think it's just solid. It's just solid Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, we are now on to question 5. Which is the gag question.
Yes.
So, Grayson, my gag question for you is, what do you think Watto smells like?
Dude, like, I'm not kidding. I don't mean to be vulgar, but he probably sounds like a ball sack, dude. Like, the chin hair, like,
especially Attack of the Clones Watto. Like, he's stinky in that movie.
Yeah, he has not touched water in years, brother.
So I've got a very small anecdote. My dog Maggie, rest in peace, was the family dog. I'm gonna miss that little pupper so much. There was this one time when I was at my old house where she was sitting in front of me, like, classic dog stuff. And I bent down and I gave her a hug. Like I gave her a hug and I squeezed her. I was right next to her face. When I squeezed her, she burped. And it was the most disgusting thing I have smelled in my entire life. That is what Watto smells like. I think he smells like probably a dead body, mixed with body odor. And yeah, there's my gag question. Gag not just because it's funny, but because it makes you want to throw up.
It does. Yeah, I'm going to eat after this, so I don't know if I want to anymore. No, I'm still hungry, actually. Sorry, Watto. Even not you are enough to stop my hunger.
Yeah, apologies if anyone is listening to this while they are consuming food.
Ooh, yeah, I'm so sorry. Please don't unsub. I'm sorry. We'll make it up.
Just think about space waffles. We love those.
Dude,
with syrup. Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
Here's my gag question for you.
All right, what do you got?
It's kind of a two-part question, but not really.
Okay.
Would you rather bring back Grievous to his former glory like in 03 Clone Wars, or marry the second sister, or just marry General Grievous? Because that last part is valid. I can see that.
Man, that's I love how you made it coal coated.
Oh yeah.
But man.
Have the baddie Trilla as your wife,
or the baddie Grievous as my wife. Yeah, it's all the homies know I love Trilla, and all the homies know I love Grievous. However, I am also a man that does services to mankind before himself sometimes. Question mark. And I feel burdened with glorious purpose to bring Grievous back to his greatness. And so that is what I must do. But Grayson, in the theme of answering these questions, you too have to answer this question. So what would you do?
I think you have a stronger affinity to the second sister than I do. And you also have a stronger affinity to Grievous than I do. But I won't deny I am a huge 03 Grievous fan. I think his scenes are some of my favorites, so that would also be my pick, because bring Grievous back to justice.
Just have a story with Grievous in it where he's not a punk, like
let him kill people, bro.
Yeah, I want people to die.
Kill them all.
No, I mean, like, if we get like if in the next season of Tales of the Jedi, or if we do like a Tales of the Sith or whatever, and Grievous is in that, like, I want him to show off. Like, I please just show him really good at what he does, right?
Yeah, we've never seen him actually be really formidable against Jedi. Only just Gungans and clones and Mandalorians.
Yep.
Now I've made Cole sad.
He lost against the Gungans, by the way.
He did.
He lost.
I forgot about that.
It was
he killed Tarpals though.
He killed Tarpals. I mean, he was against the entire army by himself, but even then it was just kind of stupid.
It was just kind of humiliating, yeah.
And I don't really like what he said when he killed Tarpals. It was like such a villain of the week quote. He stabs Tarpals and then he says, "How does it feel to die?" That's literally how he says it. And I'm like, all right. He's like, it upset me. And then the Gungans like stabbed him with spears and then threw a bunch of the they blue balled him is what they did. And then he lost against Asajj Ventress, and then he told the droids to kill her, and they opened fire. Yeah, I don't want to think about it anymore.
Cole is general grieving right now.
I'm so general grieving at this moment.
Anytime Cole's sad now, he's just gonna send me Grayson. I'm general grieving right now.
More like Cadet Grievous. Come on, man.
No. Private Grievous.
More like Private Grievous. It's just a picture of him sitting on the toilet wearing glasses reading a magazine.
The little droid guy. All right, I'm pulling out another chat pack question because we're done.
Let's go.
Let's go. Should I go? I don't remember what they're all coded to, but there's like purple, yellow, red, and blue.
Can you believe it took us 2 hours to get through 10 questions?
Yes, kind of crazy. I didn't expect us to talk that long, but that's all right.
Yeah.
I think we cooked too much, maybe. Just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
too much about our projects.
I'm not gonna pick in that. I think yellow is kind of. Go red. 91. Okay. Well, this lends itself very well to one of your questions that you asked earlier.
Oh, what does Watto smell like?
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what it... No, I'm kidding. No, it actually kind of gives a new framework for one of your questions. In 10 words or less, how would you describe the Force to someone who's never seen Star Wars?
Ooh.
I might have to, like, write it down, because I'm like...
All right. Well...
It's hard to do that in 10 words or less, because you can either go one route where you're explaining it in the way of like, oh, it's what the Jedi and Sith use for their powers, or you could go the route of like, oh, it's this invisible entity that governs and dictates the balance of the galaxy. Like, you know, like you could go two routes with it, and I'm like, I want to combine those and be like, gives the Jedi their powers, and it's this weird thing. I don't know, like.
Okay. All right. I think I've got it. This is kind of a cop-out answer, but it surrounds us, it binds us, it permeates the galaxy.
That's fair. Just a kind of different framed version of what Obi-Wan says, but I mean, it makes sense.
It's a mixture of what Obi-Wan and Yoda say.
Yep. That's what I thought.
Because like I don't know, like one of my favorite quotes is when Yoda says, "Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter," as he pinches Luke's shoulder. You know,
yes,
it's an identification of all of us as spiritual beings intrinsically, and I just think that that's a beautiful thing. That like it says that every organism is a part of the Force, like all of us are. You know, So yeah, I think that that's a great way to explain it, because it is an energy field. It surrounds us. It's within us. You know, it is the galaxy. It binds it all together.
I think I will say, and if I have to get it down, it governs the balance of nature and spirit.
Well, you got two more words if you want.
Hey, it says or less, man.
Oh yeah, it does say or less.
Yeah, and then I just put on Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Yeah, I think because I want it, and for me that like I want it to be like, you know, it governs and dictates like life, but it's also very spiritual. You know, so and I think that the way like that allows me to be like, you know, it's this kind of like seesaw thing, like you said earlier, but it helps the spirit of those to like use that power. You know, it's hard to do it in 10 words or less, because again, what you said, the Force is extremely complicated and we'll never fully know.
Yeah, I another one, I guess, like the director of the spiritual stage, because it's like it's basically, you know, it gives us key players, and it, you know, it's the deigning thing, the dictating thing throughout the galaxy. It's fate, it's destiny, you know, it's chance.
It balances and powers every being in the galaxy.
Huh. Very interesting.
We're getting all haiku-y here. That's interesting. Like maybe we should do that at some point. Like describe the Force in a haiku.
Yeah, that'd be good. Well, yeah,
we don't have time for that right now, but maybe we can come back next week and that can be our little homework.
Maybe that could be the pre-show question if you want.
Okay, I'm down. Stay tuned for our Star Wars Force haikus.
Stay tuned for Star Wars slam poetry.
What if we did that as a live stream? You just got a bunch of people on. They're like, all right, you're up next. And they're like, General Grievous. The baddie who is not daddy. What?
General Grievous. Trilla. 2 roads. 1 must travel. Period. General Grievous. General Grieving. Sad.
General Grievous sucks.
No. That's the last one. Is General Grievous sucks. No.
Okay. Well,
this is definitely the after show.
This is about to say might have been one of our most chaotic episodes, but
I think it's great.
Hey.
Yeah.
I think that's going to do it for this episode of Mortis FM. You can find us on wherever you're listening to this at. But if you're listening on one platform and you haven't engaged with us on the other, go to @Mortis FM. That'll be on YouTube and Instagram and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That's where you can find us at. You can find me at Shradester8 on Instagram.
You can find me at the.cosmic.drifter on Instagram. You can also find me at the Cosmic Drifter on YouTube.
Can, and you should.
You
Cole,
will.
should we announce what our next episode will be? If you are okay with this, or shall we wait? Either way, I'm going to announce it at some point. Our next episode has not been determined on what the topic will be yet, but I have a very prominent idea I would like to discuss. It's up to you, though.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Do it.
Our next episode, which should be next week, if everything goes well. Cole's just started school back, so we'll see how. But we're going to be doing our very first retrospective. It has been almost 5 years since The Mandalorian Season 1. So that is what we will be diving into. We have not watched Mandalorian Season 1 from beginning to end, and we're not doing Season 2 and 3 yet, but we have not watched it. I have not watched it in a long, long time. I'm a fan, so I want to go back.
I don't think I've rewatched it since it came out.
Yeah, so it's been a while, and we rewatch the movies pretty often, but I don't rewatch the shows a whole ton. So I think it's only 8 or 9 episodes, and some episodes are like 40 and some are like 30. So it would not take long to get through. So hey, if you want to hop in on our next episode, be prepped. I will make a post on specifically on when we're going to get it done. But hopefully it should be a week from whenever assuming you're listening to this day 1. But yeah, Mandalorian Season 1 retrospective.
Stay tuned. Watch it if you want.
Stay tuned if you want to. If you don't want to watch the season again, that's fine. Just come hop on anyway, because there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Yeah.
Grayson, I'm pretty sure that's everything. So, with all of that said, thank you everyone so much for watching and for listening. And as always, may the Force be with you.
I'm not going to say always again, but indeed, yes.